the Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. Today I am lucky enough to have with me Wilnona and Jade. Wilnona and Jade, will you please give me a 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
Well, I'm Jade.
And I'm Wilnona, and we're two of the And I Thought ladies. We write literary life guides that are pop poetry. And Jade, what did you win this year?
Oh, I won Poet of the Year from the ILA Award.
I'm also an Advocate Awarded author, and we do the Thoughtful Book Festival, the Inspirational Women, the IWLMJ Awards, and quite a few other things.
Oh, the 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and authors. Advocates magazine. Yeah, I'm messing up today. I don't know what's going on with that.
You ladies are very, very busy. How did you become the And I Thought ladies?
Well, really, it's our book title. We like the And I Thought series, and this was really funny because Wilnona is really great at reading poetry and writing poetry. So I had her return back to writing poetry, and she was like, "What was I gonna name? What are you gonna name the book?" And I said, "And I thought divorce was bad, and this is how it was born." This is what happens when you're best friends.
So the group came together because I was writing poetry, and then Jade ran across an old friend of ours, and she happened to be writing poetry for the first time. And her poetry was excellent. So it made me want to step up my poetry, and I wanted to publish that poetry because the world needs to hear her voice. And then we ran across a couple of other ladies. We ran across 3 more ladies, actually, accidentally, exactly the same way we came across the first lady. And now we had 5 people writing, and we needed a name for them because you can't just call them their list of names every time you do an interview. So we were like, let's call ourselves the And I Thought ladies.
All right, so there's a total of 5 of you now?
Altogether, there's 15 writers. Now,
Wow.
we've only ever written all together on one book, but we have, if necessary, 5 public faces.
Okay, and so together you have written a series of, is it 11 books?
It's 11 books.
Yes. The 2 of us written together, 11 books, yep.
Okay, the 2 of you have written together 11 books, and the other ladies have participated in some of them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right, are they mostly poetry?
They're literary anthologies. So
we like to call them literary life guides with pop poetry, which is us just putting a PR spin on anthologies.
Because we have essays in there and short stories. And then occasionally we'll have a little quiz.
Flash fictions
in there. We just kind of play around with literature, with the literary art form, and then put it together with one unifying theme. I think my second favorite one was a biscuit recipe based off of my late mother's recipe for biscuits. And it was the only book she ever read that I've written, and I've written 29. But she read that one book, and she read it a month before she unexpectedly died. And her only advice to me was like, you can't have these people out here using a half stick of butter for my biscuits. Make sure it's a whole stick. It better turn out right if it's got my name on it. It's still a half stick of butter.
But we tell people that you can use a whole stick, but this was our And I Thought being grown up was easy. So we were saying that sometimes when you grow up and you move out the house, sometimes you only have a half stick of butter, but you need some butter.
So the recipe literally is like the chapter name, step by step, add flour. And then so at the end, when you get to the end of the book, it's a whole recipe.
That is very creative. I love when people are able to take that creativity that they have within them, pull it out, and then create. So not only did you create recipes, but you created chapters with the recipes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, with each step of the recipe is a new section.
They are life lessons. So we do life lesson, and then at the end we put like layer base. Put in 1 cup, 2 cups of flour.
And then we have what independence is. Being able to figure out your own way. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And that's the life lesson. And then all of that poetry and essays, they deal about
figuring it
out. The first time you have to figure it out on your own.
That's true. Life works like that, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
I think one of my favorite ones in that book is life isn't always sweet. And then it says add a half teaspoon of salt.
That works. It's not always sweet. You could add some lime and a little ice and maybe a shot of tequila in there.
That's a different book. That's called Cocktail Soirees in the LBD.
That's the Misfit Guys.
That's the Misfit Guys, a whole different series. But that one is cocktail recipes for every situation in life.
All right, so you obviously have toured. Tell me all the different places you've been to.
Spain,
Greece, the UK,
London,
Canada, around the United States.
Scotland, and most of the U.S.
Most of the U.S.
Not the South. We have not done Alabama, Mississippi, none of them. We did Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do like Nebraska, South Dakota, Los Angeles, of course.
Yep.
Yeah,
I can't tell you all the places. I forget some.
Yeah. After interview number 700, we stopped counting.
Wow. Interview number 700. What have been some of your favorite interviews?
We love all interviews. Let's just be
this
honest.
one, of course.
This one, right? That's what we're supposed to say. But also, I mean, everybody brings something different to the table, and that's really what you learn when you go and you travel all these places. Is everyone brings something different to the table, but we all are like traveling this life. We all have this human journey, so it's kind of like you would appreciate everyone in its different way, because someone will bring something to light in a way that you have never even thought of it, and you're like on the interview while your mind is being blown, and you're like, as soon as I get off this interview, I'm gonna write that down. That it's making its way into a book, and I am telling you, 700 and sometimes later, it has always made into a book. Every interview.
I think our hardest. This is Wilnona, by the way. I think our hardest interview
was one of our first ones.
Was our 135th actually. Because we did 125 in 3 months, and she was at the end of the third month.
Okay.
So it was like the 135th. Yeah. Anyway, former BBC person. And so we're thinking, after 100 interviews, what is anyone going to ask that we haven't answered yet? And she just comes out of I think it was the second question in the interview, and we went, what the? Oh my.
And
who's answering that?
And her question was, so I see in your book you have a poem about hair. So I'm assuming that you're African American, and she was from the UK. And she said, so how does that relate to your African American experience in America? We were like, how did you get that from another Chronicles and Hair War? Like, how did you get that? And that was awesome though. And she's like, and so later we were talking to her, Gazella, which is actually our cover for this year's 25 hottest indie authors, artists, and advocate magazine. And she's like, so you have to be prepared for everything. And that taught me something. So you see, every time you get taught something.
And her second question in that interview was something we'd never been asked before, is why we chose to write mostly in poetry and what impact you feel it has on your reader. And I went, what now?
So great.
But it was great. I mean, whenever someone asks for questions now, we're like, let's add that one on there. It's not on this one.
Coming up with interviews, so how do you actually go about arranging these interviews?
Wilnona is the pitch letter queen. Actually, she teaches a whole workshop and speaks on how to make your pitch letter great. And she is the pitch letter queen, so I, Jade, am going to step back and let her go ahead and talk about it.
So this is Wilnona, and I believe that every writer who has ever tried to be traditionally published is just literally one letter away from being on a podcast or a television show. Because if you've written a query letter, you can write a pitch letter. All you need to know is what you want to be. Do you want to be a talking head, which doesn't do well now, or an interactive person, or someone who's like an expert, but they can do it in a fun manner, or someone who does a story? So you have 4 options. You need to pick that option and just pretty much write a query letter. Get your hook in there in the first part, and then find the email addresses for the people who would be reading that and putting butts and chairs on the television shows. You have to remember that you want to find television shows that you watch where there's like 6, 7, 8 guests, per a show, that means that there's 42 opportunities to be on a show a week.
That's something that I know my audience would be very interested in. Many of them have gone out and done what you've suggested, but I think a lot of people just don't realize that it's that simple to get an interview by just writing a pitch letter.
Yep, exactly. Now,
they get confused on what a pitch letter can be, and I love how she says it, because everyone that ever wanted to be a writer has queried the Big Five or some kind of other publishing agency. So you already know how to write one.
You're just asking different people. And I think I talk about, I normally go through a class and be like, well, tell me about your book. And then we'll find, I remember when Mimi Schwartz once said, she writes about creative nonfiction. She was like, because you do memoir, but no one cares about your memoir unless it socially connects to a larger matter. And I think that in itself is where we get lost, just a little lost, because a query letter is about bringing it down to the focus on your book, whereas a pitch letter is taking the focus off of your book and bringing and expanding it so that society understands why they should care. And I'm going to stop talking about that, because you might let me come, teach this workshop.
Okay.
That's beautifully said, though, because that's what we do, right? So initially, we're bringing all the focus to our book, but when we want to sell it, we need to connect it socially to everybody else.
Exactly.
And that's true for nonfiction, poetry, even fiction. Some people don't understand how their fiction book can talk to society, but sometimes you have a beach read. You know you wrote a beach read. You love to read beach reads, so you wrote a beach read. Well, now, let's talk about your summer vacation and where you're traveling to.
And I want to say this one last thing. This is Wilnona. One last thing. I've done this workshop a few times, and so sometimes I'll talk to the person and I say, oh, you wrote this book, and it matches with society here. And they'll be looking at me and they'll be like, no, it kind of confuses my message. It makes it so mass appeal. You want that. You don't want to go the other way. Yes, it doesn't make you feel special. Yes, it doesn't make your book absolutely amazingly unique. But yes, it does get you on TV.
Or podcast, or the radio, or in the newspaper,
or on a blog.
I like that we're taking our messages to the people, because the people are the people who buy our books.
Absolutely. I have the saying that you do not have to be the most popular person out there, but if you can spread your message through different areas, then you might not be a Tom Clancy or a Jenna Ivanovich, but you can sell your book to a few people in a few towns, and you know how much that adds up to be sometimes.
Especially if you're self-published. $5 a book, 100,000 books sold, $500,000. That ain't a bad look. It's not New York Times worthy, but it's not a bad look.
So are you guys working on any new books?
Well,
yes, we are. We're working on Jarvis and One Headlight.
We are definitely working on that, but right now, in this time of the year, we are actually starting to put together our 25 hottest magazine for next year. And
we have a movie coming up that we're working on, and there's something else that we're doing. Oh, the Inspirational Women in Literature, Media, and Journalism Awards. We start putting that together around this time of year.
Where do you hold those awards?
This year, it will be in Prince Frederick, Maryland. Sometimes we hold them different places, but this year we were like, we'll put it in Maryland because that's where we live. We're going to make it easy on ourselves.
Yeah, we did it. We've done it in California and a few other places, but this year it's definitely going to be Maryland. And it's at a vineyard. So there were other venues that were in the running, and we sent out the emails, and when the vineyard answered back, we went, so no, we don't want any of you guys. It's wine.
Well, Jade and Wilnona, this has been absolutely a fabulous interview. How could people get in touch with you?
Jade, would you like to do the ending? So you can always find what your ladies are doing at www.andwethought.com. Not and we thought, but thought.com.
All right, ladies, are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Yes.
Name a piece of equipment in your office that you hate.
I would have to say that little antique chair in our office. I hate that thing. It is super uncomfortable but it's antique, so I can't like pitch it up the window.
For Wilnona, it's the empty flask that she makes me keep on set. It used to have bourbon in it, but whenever like I reach over, I'm like, does this one have bourbon? It does not, especially when we interview like big people. I like to have that there to calm my nerves, but it's always empty now.
Or full of water. I did that to her one time. She was like, oh, there's something in it. And it was just alkaline water.
That's not funny.
Yes, I had to do my evil cackle. It was hilarious.
All right. So how about the best birthday present you've ever received?
Life.
I know Jade was going to say
Well,
that.
okay.
Life was the best one.
That's a big one. You're right.
Wilnona, life too?
Pretty much. I mean,
Life.
well, see, it would be weird if I answered it because it would literally be your birthday because you were born and that was like the best gift I got.
Right, but it's, yeah. So life. See? It actually,
It works.
it goes across all of it. Life.
Life. That's the best answer. I got to tell you, I could just stop right there. But I've got one more for you.
Okay.
What is your go-to snack?
Right now, it's Garrett's mixed popcorn from Chicago.
Let's see, man, my go-to snack. I do love to snack. Dang it. What is it? Fruit snacks. You know what? We'll go with fruit snacks.
Well,
go
fruit snack.
With Welch's fruit snack. That is when you know that I am so stressed that I can't take it anymore. I'll be like, that's it. It's time for fruit snacks. Nostalgia.
Perfect. So we have an antique chair that we find uncomfortable. We have life and we have fruit snacks. It doesn't get better than that.
Right?
No, it doesn't. Especially if
Something old, something new, and I guess I borrowed this light from my parents, right? Something borrowed. All we need now is something blue.
I'll tell you what, ladies, this has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
For having us, we really appreciated being on.
Well, I am so glad you stopped by. This has been another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. Allison out.
Wilnona and Jade are considered one of the 20 iconic authors according to Every Writer's Resource. They are the founders of the Inspirational Women in Literature, Media, and Journalism Awards, the Thoughtful Book Festival and Thoughtful Book Awards, the magazine 25 Hottest Indie Authors, Artists, and Advocates, as well as the And I Thought Literary Magazine. Together, they have written 11 books and participated in over 700 interviews around the world. For more information about the And I Thought ladies, visit them at andwethought.com. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us at floridawriters.com.